This is Censor Steer. Germany, formerly known as the sick man of Europe, is readying for war once more. Germany has now declared that it will be reborn as the strongest military in Europe for the first time in 70 years. And recently, Germany surprised many people by strongly warning Russia that if it directly attacks Europe, it will be destroyed. Germany is different from before. Today, let's take a closer look at this topic. Let's get right into it. First, let's see why Germany has changed like this. First of all, I think you all know well why Germany has changed. Due to the 2022 war in Ukraine, Europe, including Germany, began rearming itself. Until then, Germany had been passive in strengthening its military due to World War I. Even among Germans, some had negative opinions about Germany's NATO membership. However, the war in Ukraine literally changed everything. It was because an era had arrived where you couldn't survive without strengthening your military power. Boris Pistorius, the German Minister of Defense, recently said that the fast-changing global situation has eliminated Germans' doubts about NATO. He also expressed firm resolve, stating that Germany would help defend all NATO members' territory if needed. Germany announced that it plans to increase its defense spending by about 70% by 2029. Germany is raising its defense budget faster than major European countries like the United Kingdom or France. There are evaluations that Germany's rearmament efforts are now gaining real momentum. By 2025, Germany's defense spending is projected to hit 95 billion euros, or around 150.6 trillion won. However, the German government estimates it will reach 162 billion euros, about 256.7 trillion won, by 2029. This also includes about 8.5 billion euros, or roughly 13 trillion won in annual military aid to Ukraine. They're investing heavily in defense spending. South Korea's 2025 defense budget is 61.2469 trillion won, but they're already spending over double that amount based on the 2025 figures alone. While there are economic differences between Germany and South Korea, the amount is certainly substantial. The gap will widen further by 2029. Based on the German government's estimated defense spending plan, the defense budget will increase from 2.4% of gross domestic product in 2025 to around 3.5% in 2029. This is a much faster pace than that of other major European countries. France plans to increase its defense budget, which is currently about 2% of its gross domestic product, to between 3% and 3.5% by 2030. The United Kingdom has declared it will progressively raise its defense spending from the current 2.3% of gross domestic product to 2.6% by 2027 and 3% by 2029. However, Germany seems to be even more serious about rearming, moving faster than both the United Kingdom and France. Germany's defense spending increase is partially attributed to the 2022 war in Ukraine. It also seems that President Trump's pressure had an impact. As you know, President Trump has repeatedly insisted that NATO members should spend about 5% of their gross domestic product on defense. Germany seized the opportunity and substantially boosted its defense spending. In March, Germany amended its constitution, the basic law, to make an exception to the debt limit for defense spending, effectively allowing unlimited defense spending. NATO has set a goal of spending 5% of gross domestic product on defense by 2035, but Germany has announced both domestically and internationally that it will achieve this goal 6 years earlier. And one of the most common criticisms people make about the German military is that Germany lacks sufficient military infrastructure. Germany has steadily reduced the number of military factories as it cut its defense budget over time. That's why it takes several years to purchase tanks in Germany. It's all because of these reasons. Germany's military saw drastic reductions from 1992 to 2021. Fighter jets decreased from 553 to 226, and main battle tanks dropped from 6,684 to just 339. Their self-propelled artillery units decreased from 3,213 to just 121 by 2021, a drastic reduction. Germany's current annual production capacity is estimated at 14 fighter jets, 49.2 tanks, and 8.8 self-propelled artillery units. At this rate, it would take over 100 years to recover the number of self-propelled artillery units. Russia's production of 1,500 tanks per year vastly outnumbers Germany's output, making it difficult for German tanks to compete despite their quality. That's why there are ongoing calls to keep increasing production capacity. The German government is leveraging increased defense spending to strengthen its military, expand industrial investment, and stimulate economic growth. Germany plans to raise euro 170 billion, won 268 trillion in debt this year and next, and create a euro 500 billion, won 788 trillion special fund over 12 years for this purpose, which reminds me of someone. They intend to invest further in defense, infrastructure, and constructing numerous munitions factories. If this happens, Germany's chronic equipment production capacity will be greatly improved. You'll be able to see Leopard 2 tanks coming out like crazy. Of course, this kind of growth in Germany will have a negative impact on Korea as well. We'll have to compete with German defense equipment under even tougher conditions. Germany's top defense firm, Rheinmetall, is seeking to expand production facilities to meet the rapidly growing defense orders. They are reportedly considering Volkswagen car factories as an alternative. Rheinmetall Chief Executive Officer Armin Paperger said the Volkswagen factory in Osnabrück, Germany could be converted for armored vehicle production, and they are exploring this possibility. Also, KMDS, a defense company created by the merger of French and German firms and headquartered in the Netherlands, acquired the Görlitz factory in Germany from Alstom, a French transportation equipment manufacturer. The factory, originally designed for tram production, will reportedly be modified to manufacture Leopard 2 tanks and Puma infantry fighting vehicles. The German government and defense companies are deeply committed to rearmament for multiple reasons, signaling their seriousness about the matter. They have even started considering the revival of conscription. Germany had previously abolished conscription in 2011. Since the early 1990s, after the Cold War ended, they have gradually abolished conscription. After abolishing conscription, Germany faced chronic military recruitment problems, hindering efforts to strengthen their military power. Germany has stated that if voluntary enlistment proves insufficient, they may revert to a conscription system to address this issue. The discussion about reviving conscription is currently coming from multiple politicians. Boris Pistorius, Germany's defense minister, has also spoken openly about it. Friedrich Merz, the German chancellor, has also called for security independence and decided to discuss conscription. Germany plans to submit an amendment to the military service law to parliament this year and has set a policy to rapidly increase its troops annually. The serious discussions around conscription suggest that strengthening Germany's military or rearmament has become a crucial existential issue for German society, not just a simple choice. This also symbolically declares that the era of peace is over. Germany will probably gradually push for cuts in social spending to further strengthen its military power, and as a result, there is a high possibility that the form of the welfare state will also change. Simultaneously, they will bolster their defense industry-centric industrial capabilities and marshal all technological and financial resources to manufacture weapons and grow their military. The German government is expected to increase defense spending and accelerate a strategic shift in the entire industrial structure to focus on the military. This signifies a national shift in societal values towards a security-focused mindset. As Germany is rearming, its fiscal deficit is expected to rise significantly. As of 2025, Germany's fiscal deficit is estimated to reach 82 billion euros, which is about 132 trillion won. The deficit, which was 33 billion euros last year, has more than doubled in just 1 year. If military spending continues at the current rate, the fiscal deficit could reach 126 billion euros, about 230 trillion won, by 2029, according to some analyses. The unprecedented scale could jeopardize Germany's financial stability. In addition to defense spending, the German government is also making large-scale investments to expand infrastructure and promote economic growth, so the proportion of the national budget allocated to defense and industrial investment is expected to become overwhelmingly large. These investments will rapidly increase Germany's national debt, but the government prioritizes long-term security independence and military leadership in Europe over short-term deficit concerns. Therefore, the duration of this fiscal expansion is likely to become a highly sensitive political issue. Germany's future military expansion is subject to various factors, including domestic political opinion, Europe's security environment, and NATO's evolving role. It's important to monitor how the current assertive fiscal policy will shape Germany's future policies. Is war approaching, or is this preparation to maintain peace? One thing is certain. Military power is now a necessity in Europe, not a choice. Germany stands at the forefront of using armed force to protect peace. Many countries worldwide, including South Korea, Japan, Poland, and Finland, are now facing the same question as Germany. We don't want war, but we must be prepared. What are your thoughts on Germany's rearmament? Please share in the comments. That's all for this video. Thank you.